Hi everyone, it is September the 23rd of 2018. It is Sunday in the afternoon. This is Wake Up America channel and I am Nicole, your host. We are going to kind of peruse the Drudge report this morning, or this afternoon I should say. Sorry. Computer's having technical difficulties here. At any rate, I hope you all had a good week. And everything's going well. Everybody's, enjoying life. So the first thing I saw was that the headline on Drudge is "Another Woman," and it's all in caps, and it is written in red type, and so it's red, all caps, and it's underlined. So I'm guessing this might be important, something that he might want us to see here. So this was published in the NewYorker.com, and it says, Senate Democrats investigate new allegation of sexual misconduct as Senate Republicans press for a swift vote to confirm Brett Kavanaugh, President Trump's nominee to the Supreme Court. Senate Democrats are investigating a new allegation of sexual misconduct against Kavanaugh. The claim dates to 1983 through 1984 academic school year when Kavanaugh was a freshman at Yale University. The offices of at least 4 Democrat senators have received information about the allegation, and at least 2 have begun investigating it. Senior Republican staffers also learned of the allegation last week and, in conversations with the New Yorker, expressed concern about its potential impact on Kavanaugh's nomination. Soon after, Senate Republicans issued renewed calls to accelerate the timing of a committee vote. The Democrat Senate office reviewing the allegations believe that they merit further investigation. This is another serious, credible, and disturbing allegation against Brett Kavanaugh. It should be fully investigated, Senator Mazie Hirono of Hawaii said. An aide in one of the other Senate offices added, "These allegations seem credible. We're taking them very seriously. If established, they're clearly disqualifying." So, the woman at the center of the story, Deborah Ramirez, who is 53, attended Yale with Kavanaugh, where she studied sociology and psychology. Later, she spent years working for an organization that supports victims of domestic violence. The New Yorker contacted Ramirez after learning of her possible involvement in an incident involving Kavanaugh. The allegation was conveyed to Democratic senators by a civil rights lawyer. For Ramirez, the sudden attention has been unwelcome and prompted difficult choices. She was at first hesitant to speak publicly, partly because her memories contained gaps and because she had been drinking at the time of the alleged incident. In her initial conversations with the New Yorker, she was reluctant to characterize Kavanaugh's role in the alleged incident with certainty. After 6 days of carefully assessing her memories and consulting with her attorney, Ramirez said that she felt confident enough of her recollections to say that she remembers Kavanaugh had exposed himself at a drunken dormitory party, thrust his penis in her face, caused her to touch it without her consent, as she pushed him away. Ramirez is now calling for the F.B.I. to investigate Kavanaugh's role in the incident. "I would think an F.B.I. investigation would be warranted," she said. Well, I don't know if I've ever heard of an F.B.I. investigation over a exposure of the penis in the face, but maybe for this, I don't know these days. In a statement, Kavanaugh wrote, "This alleged event from 35 years ago did not happen. The people who knew me then know this did not happen." Well, okay, weak argument. How would the people who know you then know whether that happened or not? I've known really some of the worst people I know have some of the best reputations, and some of the best people I know, I'm not going to say they have bad reputations, but let's just say having a perfect reputation does not mean you're innocent. It means you got a good cleanup crew. "This is a smear, plain and simple. I look forward to testifying on Thursday about the truth and defending my good name and the reputation for my character and integrity I've spent a lifetime building against these last-minute allegations. The White House spokesperson, Carrie Cooperi, said the administration stood by Kavanaugh. This 35-year-old uncorroborated claim is the latest in a coordinated smear campaign by the Democrats, designed to tear down a good man. This claim is denied by all who were said to be present and is wholly inconsistent with what many women and men who knew Judge Kavanaugh at the time in college say. I'm not saying that it's true. I'm just saying that people who knew him at the time aren't going to know whether he did something like that or not necessarily. Just saying. I mean, come on. Everybody kind of knows that there is a disproportionate number of sociopaths, people who, like, with an MRI can have the part of the brain that's just not, kicking in full gear. There's a disproportionate number of them, not just in, violent exploitative criminals, but also amongst the population of business CEOs. I'm sure they're up there with the judges. Anybody in a position of power, really, over smaller, weaker people should be suspected as being a sociopath. The ones who become judges and CEOs are really good at keeping a good, clean image, and the ones who don't give a crap about their image just become common criminals, Or maybe who like having a bad guy image, maybe they become like, I don't know, mafia. Alright. Okay, so the White House stands firmly behind Judge Kavanaugh. Ramirez said that when both she and Kavanaugh were freshmen at Yale, she was invited by a friend on the women's soccer team to a dorm room party. She recalled that the party took place in a suite at Lawrence Hall in the part of Yale known as Old Campus, and that a small group of students decided to play a drinking game together. We're sitting in a circle, she said. People would pick who drank. Ramirez, who was chosen repeatedly, she said, quickly became inebriated. At one point, she said a male student pointed a gag plastic penis in her direction. Later, she said she was on the floor, foggy and slurring her words, as that male student and another stood nearby. Ramirez identified the two male onlookers, but at her request, the New Yorker is not naming them. A third male student then exposed himself to her. I remember a penis being in front of my face, she said. I know that's not what I wanted, even in that state of mind, she recalled, remarking, I'm sorry, it's probably not appropriate that I'm smiling about this, but sorry, that's not a normal penis. And the other students laughing at her confusion and taunting her. One encouraging her to kiss it. She said that she pushed the person away, touching it in the process. Ramirez, who was raised a devout Catholic in Connecticut, said that she was shaken. I wasn't going to touch a penis until I was married. Right, Sandra D. She said, I was embarrassed and ashamed and humiliated. She remembers Kavanaugh standing to her right and laughing, pulling up his pants. Brett was laughing, she said. I can see his face and his hips coming forward like when you pull up your pants. Okay, this is the whole story, guys. Okay, I'm not saying this is good, but even if worst scenario, let's just say this story's true. Hopefully they can never confirm it with any kind of proof, and Brett Kavanaugh, if he's smart, always will deny this. This is not the end of the world. I was really expecting something worse than this. I hadn't read about it until I saw the article, until just now. It's not that bad. Alright. Those who think I'm horrible are free to write in. Maybe I'm missing something. It's not great, Alright, so I can still see his face and his hips coming forward like when you pull up your pants. She recalled another male student shouting about the incident. Somebody yelled down the hall, Brett Kavanaugh just pulled his penis. Oh, put his penis in Debbie's face. She said it was his full name. I don't think it was just Brett. And I remember hearing and being mortified that this was out there. Ooh. Ramirez acknowledged that there are significant gaps in her memories of the evening, and that if she ever presents her story to the FBI, sounds like a game of spin the bottle, and the FBI is going to go apparently. Sounds like a game of spin the bottle with questionable, moments of dramatic I don't know what, but it doesn't sound criminal to me. If she ever presents her story to the FBI or members of the Senate, she will inevitably be pressed on her motivation for coming forward after so many years and questioned about her memory, given her drinking at the party. And yet, after several days of considering the matter carefully, she said, "I'm confident about the pants coming up, and I'm confident about Brett being there." Ramirez said that what had stayed with her most forcefully is the memory of laughter at her expense from Kavanaugh and the other students. It was kind of a joke, she recalled. And now it's clear to me it wasn't a joke. I don't know. I mean, I came from a generation, I'm not saying we played games like this, but if somebody had told me this story, it wouldn't have been like, you were raped. It wouldn't be anything serious like that, you know. By his freshman year, Kavanaugh was 18 and legally an adult. During his confirmation hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, Kavanaugh swore under oath that as a legal adult he had never committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature. The New Yorker has not confirmed with other eyewitnesses that Kavanaugh was present at the party. The magazine contacted several dozen classmates of Ramirez and Kavanaugh regarding the incident. Many did not respond to interview requests, others declined to comment, or said they did not attend or remember the party. Of course, who's going to remember the party after all these years? A classmate of Ramirez's, who declined to be identified because of the partisan battle over Kavanaugh's nomination, said that another student told him about the incident either on the night of the party or in the next day or two. The classmate said that he is 100% sure that he was told at the time that Kavanaugh was the student who exposed himself to Ramirez. He independently recalled many of the same details offered by Ramirez, including that a male student had encouraged Kavanaugh as he exposed himself. The classmate, like Ramirez, recalled in a room on the first floor in entryway B of Lawrence Hill, a whole lot of detail. During their freshman year, "I've known this all along," he said. "It's been on my mind all these years when his name came up. It was a big deal." The story stayed with him, he said, because it was disturbing and seemed outside of the bounds of typically acceptable behavior, even during heavy drinking at parties on campus. Classmates said that he'd been shocked but not necessarily surprised because the social group to which Kavanaugh belonged often drank to excess. Oh, those drunks. Okay, I'm getting a little ad from the New Yorker here. Classmates said that he had been shocked but not necessarily surprised, okay, because they often drank a lot. He recalled Kavanaugh as relatively shy, it's always the quiet ones, until he drank, at which point he said that Kavanaugh could become aggressive and even belligerent. Another classmate, Richard O., an emergency room doctor in California, recalled overhearing, soon after the party, a female student tearfully recounted to another student an incident at a party involved a gag with a fake penis, followed by a male student exposing himself. Apparently this is a thing, you know. First the plastic penis and then the male student exposure. It's like the old 1-2 punch. Oh, it's not certain of the identity of the female student. Ramirez told her mother and sister about an upsetting incident at the time, but did not describe the details to either due to her embarrassment. So apparently she, randomly, like she probably did about once a week when she was a teenager like this, told her mother and sister that an embarrassing incident had happened, but didn't elaborate on it. And that's her proof that it happened, or part of it. Mark Krasberg, an assistant professor of neurosurgery at the University of New Mexico, was also a member of Kavanaugh and Ramirez's class at Yale, and said that Kavanaugh's college behavior had become a topic of discussion among former Yale students soon after Kavanaugh's nomination. In one email after that, Krasberg received in September, the classmate, This is just really... Okay, so this guy says that this would qualify as a sexual assault, if it's true. You know what? When you call everything a sexual assault, it's kind of screwed up, because when people really do get sexual assaulted, it's mixed in with plastic penises and people exposing themselves. That's not an assault. It's not an assault. If everything's beautiful, nothing's beautiful. If everything's ugly, nothing's ugly. If everything's a sexual assault, then nothing's a sexual assault. What's wrong with these people? One of the male classmates who Ramirez said egged on Kavanaugh denied any memory of the party. Well, of course. I don't think Brett would flash himself to Debbie or anyone else for that matter, he said. You know, okay, this whole thing is very silly, guys. I'm just going to scroll straight down past the rest of this, the comment section. What is it with these guys? They really don't want him, oh, here's another paragraph about Dianne Feinstein. Ramirez said that she hoped her story would support that of Christine Blasey Ford, the California professor, who has raised an allegation of sexual misconduct against Kavanaugh that bears several similarities to Ramirez's claim. Like Ramirez, Ford said that Kavanaugh was involved in sexual misconduct at a party while drunk and egged on by a male friend. In July, she sent a letter to Senator Dianne Feinstein alleging that, at a party in the summer of 1982, when she was 15, and Kavanaugh was 17 and in high school, Kavanaugh pushed her into a bedroom, locked the door, pinned her to the bed, covered her mouth to stop her screams while he attempted to pull off her clothes. Details of Ford's allegation were initially made public by The New Yorker, which did not name her at the time. Subsequently, she disclosed her name in an interview with the Washington Post. In her letter, Ford said that during the incident, she feared that Kavanaugh might inadvertently kill her. She alleged that a male friend and Georgetown prep classmate of Kavanaugh's, Mark Drudge, was present in the room, alternately urging Kavanaugh to go for it and to stop. Kavanaugh has denied the allegation. You know, okay, it's suspicious to me that none of this has come out until now. I mean, that's the really obvious thing that everybody's going to wonder about. Plastic penis, spin the bottle, exposure, I don't think that's even like, okay, that's just not an emergency in my opinion, but, you know, maybe this did happen, maybe it didn't, I don't know. Let's take a look here at the comment section if they have one. They might not. New Yorker, you don't have a comment section? What, are you afraid of what your readers will say? Well, okay. That's it. There's no comments here. Okay, so that's the first one on Drudge Report. Let's take a look. Let's see what else we have here. So we've got a big week ahead of us. And I'm going to try to actually stick to checking in on Sundays with you guys. There's a lot going on right now, but there's always a lot going on, so I'm just going to try to do it and stick to it. Border agents apprehend 2,000 illegals. Okay. Got a single crossing in 3 days. The Pope warns against new seeds of anti-Semitism, you think? Semitism, sorry. Yeah, of course. Alright, there's been a lot of talk about the Israeli conspiracies lately, by the way, on my channel. And I kind of encourage that because I did cover the disgruntled vet's blog, which I posted on another video that I did. The thing is, the way I see it is that, yeah, I mean, a lot of people were behind 9/11, right? So disgruntled vet had brought up Israel's part in 9/11, but, you know, Saudi Arabia also had a part. Arguably, if you listen to some old mafiosos, the Catholic Church had a part. I think probably all of, it's kind of like when Caesar gets stabbed, you know. Everybody had to take a stab so that they all shared the guilt. In something like 9/11, a lot of different countries, a lot of different conspiracy players have to put their stab in so that the guilt is shared among the group. So that it kind of gives a little safety to the party who makes the most profit off of whatever happened. So that later on they don't get blamed for it with the other people being able to get away with immunity, right? So that's kind of what happened. So is Israel the be-all, end-all to take down the, you know, the one that's, are they, you know, is it just an Israeli conspiracy and all other conspiracies be damned? No, no. There's so many players in it. There's not just one player. Israel's certainly one, and one thing to remember is that they're very smart. I mean, I remember years ago a doctor that I knew explaining to me, he'd been out there in the military as sort of like a medic of some sort. like a doctor working in the military. And so he had said that their intelligence was so advanced and he was just so impressed, right? And of course they are. But I want you to think about it for a minute. Like the banking families that we all talk crap about, that the Rothschilds and whatnot, and they really are part of a conspiracy to take over the world. They say that they're Jewish families, right? But they helped and encouraged the genocide of the Jews in Nazi Germany and under Hitler. So explain to me, like, these Israelis that we're talking about, the ones that are the power players, they're probably like the most dangerous enemy of the Jewish people, who are, the real Jewish people, the people, right? Not the conspiracy players. We understand that the England's monarchy is a part and a player in this, right? But we don't blame all English people or hate every person who has royal blood. That's kind of how this works, guys. Anyways, just to go on a little rabbit trail. Lithuania. Oh, by the way, this was published in apbnews.com. Oh, who wrote this article? Let's take a look here. Actually, I'm not too sure who wrote this. I don't like to take any kind of credit or anything, but somebody apparently wrote it. Lithuania, Pope Francis, sorry, that's my dog. She likes to do that at, perfect moments. Pope Francis warned against historic revisionism and any rebirth of anti-Semitism that fueled the Holocaust as he marked the annual Remembrance Sunday for Lithuania's centuries-old Jewish community that was nearly wiped out in World War II. Francis began his second day in the Baltics in Lithuania's second city, Kaunas, where an estimated 3,000 Jews survived out of a community of 37,000 during the 1941 through 1944 Nazi occupation. He ended it back in the capital, Vilnius, to pay his respects to Lithuanians who were deported to Siberian gulags or were tortured and killed at home during 5 decades of Soviet occupation. Francis honored freedom fighters at the former KGB headquarters, where anti-Soviet partisans were detained and executed, solemnly touring the underground chambers that have now been turned into a haunting museum of occupation atrocities. In this place of remembrance, Lord, we pray that your cry may keep us alert, he said afterward, that your cry, Lord, may free us from the spiritual sickness that remains a constant temptation for us as a people. Forgetfulness of the experience and sufferings of those who have gone before us. I don't get it. What's he trying to say here? I mean, I get the political move that he's making, and I get why he's, talking about the mounting. There is actually real problems with anti-Semitism becoming an issue. And keep in mind that although there are Jews that have a plot to take over the world, there's also Chinese that have a plot to take over the world, and English who have a plot to take over the world, and Masons who have a plot to take over the world, and Russians who have a plot to take over the world, and everybody who has a plot to take over the world. But hating any one of those groups, whether it's the ethnic group or the religious group, just, hating all the people, I don't do that with Muslims. I understand that the Sharia law believing Muslims who think women need to wear veils in this unrevised, where the Muslim religion has not had any kind of revision or revisiting, the political Islam, that's real wicked and evil, okay? That is really the enemy of LGBT community, for instance, but also women and women's rights. But to just hate people who come from the Middle East or all Muslims across the board is that's stupid, right? That's the same as we don't hate all Chinese people because the Chinese have a plot to overthrow the world. I mean, come on. Every world power player has a plot to overthrow the world, right? But what he's saying here, that was just a little rabbit trail, is that, talk so loud, may your cry keep us alert. Okay, I don't completely understand I don't think he's doing such a great job, this point. That's my dog licking herself. I'm going to pause this and come back in a second here. That sounds so disgusting. For some reason, every time that I record a video, she likes to be in the room. And then she likes to really groom herself. Really loud. Alright, I think everything's back under control here with the dog. See if I can briefly close out this video. So, the Pope prayed for the gift of discernment to detect in time any new seeds of that pernicious attitude, any whiff of it that can taint the heart of generations that did not experience those times, and can sometimes be taken in by such siren songs. Alright. Well, somebody's writing his speeches. I've been reading him lately, and I've been like, whoever has been helping to write his speeches has been politically brilliant. And, the things he says on his own cannot be accounted for, but they put a good handler on his speeches. Okay, let's see. Poll: Democrats hold a 12-point advantage heading into midterms. Pelosi critics lack challenger to topple her. Right. That's not Pelosi, I think, has been the recipient of some kind of deal. Yeah, for whatever reason. The Democrats are kind of like the mafia. They wouldn't, they're such a criminal enterprise that they wouldn't be able to continue operating if they didn't have some kind of loyalty, and if they weren't, if they weren't good for their word, at least not with us, but like with each other and with power players, right? So Pelosi made a deal somewhere along the lines, and this position was guaranteed to her, so she's going to run unchallenged and unopposed. That kind of is like the difference. One of the things that I've noticed between the Democrats and the Republicans is that the Republicans are quicker to backstab each other. They don't run as efficiently as a criminal operation, if that makes sense. Like the Democrats are like, they're smooth operators, I think that maybe they're just overdue for a revolution, because the Whigs and, the party that is the Republicans has broken down and been remade more recently. I sometimes wonder if that's partially what it is, but they run a little too smoothly as it's sort of a criminal organization. I mean, so that's why Pelosi's unchallenged anyway. We've got Jared's Mission Impossible, winning over wealthy Trump skeptics. Should we take a look? We'll take a peek. Every time I see Jared Kushner now, I can't help but look at his eyebrows. And it's because of, oh come on, what's the name of that cook who supposedly killed himself, right after he told all about the Clintons, the Me Too movement, and Harvey Weinstein? Anyways, he had his girlfriend, he just passed away, supposedly killed himself. His girlfriend got busted because she had slept with an underage teenage boy who was, I guess, trying to up and coming in the world of Hollywood, and had paid him off. Isn't that interesting? So while he was defending that cook guy, I can't remember his name, while he's defending, her, she, in going after Harvey Weinstein and these other guys, and outing the Clintons, his girlfriend is guilty, right, of the same kind of sexual harassment, just towards a man, man. Anyways, the little bit he had said about Kushner's eyebrows being manscaped a little too much, and that, when he sees him, he thinks that if Kushner ever saw prison food that he would rat immediately. What was that guy's name? Yeah. Somebody will remind me if I can't remember. I know his name. I can't think of it right now. So this was published in Politico.com. Kushner's mission improbable, winning over wealthy Trump skeptics. The president's son-in-law, once a member of the New York City High Society, has quietly taken on the role of ambassador to the GOP's moneyed set. By Alex Eisenstadt. Jared Kushner's huddled behind, and you guys know about how he owns that building somewhere out in New York that he got, and it's like 666 something, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. Hold on. There's other kind of like little conspiracy things with Kushner too. You know, his dad was like a crooked lawyer and all, you know. You guys know more than I do probably, but Jared Kushner huddled behind closed doors. Oh, and that BB used to sleep in Kushner's bed when he was a kid. Isn't that interesting how these guys are all tied in together? Jared Kushner huddled behind closed doors with some of the Republican Party's most powerful donors in a Midtown Manhattan hotel earlier this month. The mission: convince them that the Trump White House isn't a mess. While the administration raced to extinguish that day's firestorm, President Donald Trump's denial of Hurricane Maria's 2,975-person death toll, Kushner insisted that the circus-like perception is wrong. Real work is getting done. There are serious people in the White House who are following an actual process, he said. And low-performing staffers had been replaced. The appearance before the secretive American Opportunity Alliance donor conference, previously unreported, sheds light on the latest addition to Kushner's expansive portfolio. Ambassador to the GOP moneyed set, a contingent that remains wary of the administration and its never-ending tumult. The 37-year-old Trump senior advisor has attended at least 4 donor gatherings since August, and those close to him say that he may soon appear at more. He has been in regular contact with Las Vegas casino mogul Sheldon Adelson, one of the GOP's most prolific benefactors and a staunch pro-Israel figure. The two spoke last week. Kushner's charm offensive reflects a broader realization within the Trump White House that after dismissing elite donors in 2016, they are now a constituency that must be carefully tended to, with his party's racing to save its congressional majorities and a treacherous re-election contest fast approaching. Trump can't afford to ignore them. Well, you know, that's kind of like Kushner and Ivanka's thing, you know, that's kind of their thing. So, alright. It's nothing too exciting, it's just the typical. You know, I do think it is interesting, though, and worth noting that some people think that, I don't believe this, but that Kushner is the Antichrist. That he fits the description here. You know. Let's see. You know, I kind of think that people should be looking at the Pope for some of that, you know, if they're into that. Oh, this is an interesting article. What will humans look like in 100 years? I read this last night. And to be honest with you, there's definitely like a transhumanism that's all bad, but there's, you know, there's definitely a benign application for this technology. It's really interesting. Okay, next crash will be worse than the Great Depression, experts warn. Let's see. New York Post. That's where this article is published. Next crash will be worse than the Great Depression, experts. September 22nd, 2018, by John Aidan Byrne. Byrne? Alright. Let's see here. 10 years ago, it was too easy credit that brought financial markets to their knees. Today, it could be a global debt of $246 trillion that causes the next crash. After a decade of escalating U.S. household debt brought on by low wages and national debt more than doubling over the same time frame, to 21 trillion, debt could soon put the brakes on this economy's recovery, analysts warn. It's bound to happen sometime, guys. We think the major economies are on the cusp of this turning into the worst recession we have seen in 10 years, says Murray Gunn, head of global research at Elliott Wave International. And, in a note, he added, should the U.S. economy start to shrink, and our analysis suggests that it will, the high nominal levels of debt will instantly become a very big issue. The economic stats, U.S. household debt of $13.3 trillion now exceeds the 2008 peak. That's due in part to mortgage lending, which is hovering near its decade-ago level of $9 trillion plus. Student loans outstanding have skyrocketed. Auto loans have exceeded the 2000, so things have gotten. We won't be able to call this a recession. It's going to be worse than the Great Depression, said economic commentator Peter Schiff, forecasting a major economic downturn as early as the tail end of the Trump presidency's first term. The U.S. economy is in so much worse shape than it was a decade ago. Economic theorists say insurmountable debt is the big kahuna. The huge sums today certainly fed the bottom line, but since it must eventually be repaid, the tipping point will come when a wave of defaults by overwhelmed borrowers, potentially squeezed by rising interest rates, leads to a widespread reduction in spending and incomes, economists explain. Although Schiff had gotten some calls wrong in the past, he incorrectly predicted the U.S. Federal Reserve would fail in its roundabout quantitative easing campaign to reflate housing and stock in the wake of financial crisis. He is convinced he is right on the money this time. I think we're going to have a dollar crisis. You think the Turkish lira looks bad now. Wait till you see when the dollar is imploding and we have a Soviet debt crisis in the U.S., he told the Post. The U.S. government is going to be given a choice between defaulting on the debt or else massive runaway inflation. Okay, so they think there's going to be a deflationary spiral, so well, we're going to find out. Let me see what the comment section says over here. Let's see. There's no comment section on this one either. These people are getting rid of their comment sections. At any rate, guys, I hope you guys have a great week. Take care. That's it for our, run through of the Drudge report for today. Talk to you later.